The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children.
And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I rain my vengeance upon thee. Welcome back to Real Actors. Woo! I swear I was going to screw that up, which I probably did, but who knows? Who cares? It was great. Yes, Real Actors back for the poll winner this time. This poll was not as close as I thought it was going to be. But we had some dogs in the fight that kind of gave Samuel L. Jackson, the eventual winner, a run for his money. Cusack was in there. We had Jamie Foxx, and we also had Robert Downey Jr. And Deb, you said Robert Downey Jr. was probably the favorite for this one.
I thought he would be, seeing all the Marvel and the Marvel fans out there, but no, it was a close run though between he and Samuel L., wasn't it? It was pretty close.
It was he put up a good fight. Cusack made a late charge, and surprisingly, Fox was not in the race whatsoever. But I mean, when you put Samuel L. Jackson, the motherfucker just wins, right?
Of course, that man should own the word motherfucker. He should have the patent on that word because no one says that word better than Samuel L. Jackson.
I think he does. I think he's also probably like a world record holder for the N-word too, which we will not say on here. We'll say motherfucker all day. But which I'm actually kind of sad that we didn't get Jamie Foxx because it would give me an excuse to just keep saying motherfucker Jones. But alas, it was not to be, but we did get quite a great person to talk about. That is Mr. Samuel L. Jackson. But first off, introducing the only sister today, Miss The Walking Deb. Thanks for joining me.
I'm glad to be here, as usual.
All right, perfect. And if you also, we are doing a promotion with my buddy Andrew's clothing company. If you go to Chemical Clothing, that's chemical-clothing.com, enter promo code REALACTORS, you will get 15% off your order. So if anyone wants to check out this really cool clothing company, it's like skate stuff and surfing gear, that kind of style of clothes. You got this cool little beaker here with some kind of substance. It looks very almost like Mario-ish. So yeah, go to chemical-clothing.com, enter promo code REALACTORS. This show has its own promo code, so that's pretty crazy. Becki is in the chat. She will be the other sister. And she can't yell at me back because she's not here. Yes. So yeah, let's dive right into it. Let's talk about. So I mean, I know it's not Danny McBride, but were you excited that Samuel L. Jackson won?
It is not Danny McBride, and I will always give you shit about Danny McBride. But no, I am ecstatic. Daniel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson won because he is one of my favorite actors of all time, and it's such a wide array of movies. There's so many to talk about, and it was so hard to really pick ones to go for because there is this one is huge. This is a huge one, really big. Big.
Absolutely. And he is the epitome of a working man's actor. We've had similar kind of working man actors like Benicio del Toro, where he just kind of takes a lot of little roles. But unlike Benicio del Toro, Samuel L. Jackson, I mean, if I asked him to be on this show talking about it, he probably would have showed up. You just got to ask him, and he'll probably be in your movie. He's in from amazing things like, Tarantino flicks all the way down to, Snakes on a Plane. So it just... I actually counted how many movies he has credited to him. Do you care to take a guess?
200.
Close. He has 137 movie credits to date.
Pretty close. He will do anything. I saw a thing on YouTube last night on the GQ channel where he basically made an account on YouTube, Quora, Reddit, and one more as himself, and just answered like people would have posted things about him. He answered as himself And like they just asked him to do it, and he did. And the answers he gave were hilarious. And it's like worth a watch. I mean, he's like a down to earth guy. I mean, you're right, working man's actor. We should have tagged him in this. Maybe he would have seen it on Twitter, right?
Right. I'm serious. Like he probably would have showed up. And he's always, the thing about Samuel L. Jackson is you could always tell, it's not like he's like a Daniel Day-Lewis. He's not drinking your milkshake all the time. He's just there and he's having a great time. He's always having a blast. After Snakes on a Plane came out, I'm going to be talking about Snakes on a Plane a lot.
Spoilers, it's fine.
Oh God. But he was asked in an interview, would you want to do something like that again? He's like, man, I'll do Snakes on a Plane 2 and 3. Like he's ready.
And then the thing, they asked him, they said, what about Snakes on a Train? And he said, I'll do motherfucking Snakes on a Plane.
You put motherfucking snakes on any motherfucking thing, I'll show up. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And he's not really a young man anymore either, but he's one of those kind of like ageless people where he just doesn't look like a day over, maybe like late 40s, early 50s at this point. Do you know how old this gentleman is, Deb?
No, I don't know how old he is. I would guess he's got to be in his mid-60s.
He is 69 years old, wow. and he actually shares a birthday with one of your kids.
Really?
Yes.
One of my kids?
One of your kids. Yes. Yeah. That's.
I'm gonna guess it's Courtney.
It is not. It's Taylor. His birthday is December 21st, the day after mine, but the day of Taylor's birthday. She's the one, if you guys know, drew this by hand for Dead Guys Talking. It was awesome. So yeah, we're very connected to Samuel L. Jackson, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. Let's see. So we covered that. The other thing that, is just talking about as far as acting themes go, we kind of talked about it last time, where Becki and I did about Tom Hardy, where he's kind of an underrated character actor. We've spoken about, other actors on this show, like Gary Oldman, another great character actor, but does villains very well. And it seems that Samuel L. Jackson is kind of pigeonholed into 3 type of roles, and that's cops, gangsters, and just badasses. It's everything in between. He's always kind of the anti-hero. He's done some comedies here and there, but what kind of his shtick, what he's known for, especially when he's kind of put into the main spotlight, it kind of falls on those 3.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think of a role that doesn't, and I can't come up with one. You're right. But better 3 than 1. I mean,
Absolutely. If you're going to be good at something, be good at 3 things and be the best at these 3 things, because you could always count on him to deliver. You can always count on Samuel L. Jackson to be Samuel L. Jackson. In a way, it's kind of, I don't want to say he kind of is like Nick Cage in a way. Nicolas Cage has his own.
What a comparison, though.
I know. But hey, Mandy was a great film. But Nicolas Cage, you can't make him be in a not Nicolas Cage role. Where Samuel L. Jackson, you want to put him in your movie, but you're just going to have to let him be Samuel L. Jackson.
I agree. I mean, I've seen him play everything from an old blues guy trying to save the town slut in Black Snake Moan to, the guy in Snakes on a Plane to, Nick Fury. So yeah, he can do more than those 3 things. He's pretty versatile. I mean, but he is, then again, you do have to let him be who he is in the movies. He definitely, but the age thing you were mentioning, I've seen him play older roles when he was younger, where he looks older than he is now. He's real versatile in the age thing, which is kind of cool.
Sure, absolutely. He is one that, unlike some people like a Guy Pearce or something that could completely transform into a role and kind of go method and you don't know exactly who you're watching. He's just going, he has, and this kind of sounds like I'm shitting on him a little bit, but I swear I'm meaning this in a nice complimentary way. Is there's a couple, Samuel L. Jackson's kind of like the gain knob on your microphone, where it's just like he could play a little bit more muted Sam Jackson, or you could just kind of take the wheels off and let him go full, motherfucker.
Yeah, he's not method. He's not a method actor. He's always, in that respect, he's always Samuel L. Jackson.
But I mean, that says a lot, because not everyone, he's the best of that kind of thing. It's not like, so some people like a Daniel Day-Lewis, he's great at being other things, or like a Gary Oldman transforming into Winston Churchill, those kind of actors. I feel like there's more of those that are more almost like impressionists, where you could transform. There's only one Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, and I think the intensity level with those other actors is so high, and I think and not that Samuel L. Jackson hasn't played intense roles, but it's less of an intensity level. It's more of him being, or it's more organic for him. It's just him being him, playing whoever he's playing, but he doesn't have to totally immerse himself and get lost, which I like.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, for sure. He's always kind of, and this is why I think his style of acting fits so well in Tarantino films, is because he's almost a hyper-realistic caricature of whatever that type of person is supposed to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, he plays, obviously he's black, and he can be like low key, or he can be like he was in Shaft, or like he was in Pulp Fiction, where it's so so big. It's just so big. He can tone it down, he can tone it up, but he's still Samuel L. Jackson.
Absolutely. He's also done some narration work in a piece that both you and I recently just saw, which I'm really excited to talk about in a little bit. But let's just kind of, before we jump into like specific movie roles and how he, portrayed those specific, iconic roles. I mean, think about some iconic roles, quotable. This man, some movies are very quotable. This man is very quotable, because, whether it's the script or not, his delivery, he has just taken ownership of these lines, and his delivery is kind of make him one of the most quotable actors in the business.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times someone has said "what" to me, and I've said, "Say what again, motherfucker." It's happened. You can't help it. You can't. Right.
Do they? Oh man! Now I forgot the quote. Do they serve something in what? Wow. What is it? What is the quote?
Which movie is it from?
No, it's in Pulp Fiction. Say what again? Do they? Some?
Oh, it's the cheeseburger one.
Yeah, he says. Do they do something or what? Oh well, I screwed it up.
I don't know what you mean, and I can't think of it either.
Yeah. Well, let's. I kind of dive deep into him, because it's like, I'm sure there's been podcasts about him before. If there's not, then there should be, because he is such a linchpin. He's such a pillar of Hollywood, right? Like you think Hollywood, you got to put him in there. So instead of just talking about his acting roles and whatever, I kind of dive deep into some of his background, especially in civil rights movement. This man is one of the most punk rock dudes I've ever seen. It's insane. So a couple cliff notes. One of his quotes that he said about his daughter is, I would like, this is coming straight from him, I would like to think that because of the things I did, my daughter can do the things that she does. She barely has a recognition that she's black. So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is cool. How old is his daughter? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but he only has one child, and it's his daughter. I'm not exactly sure. But he was in 1968. He was an usher at Martin Luther King's funeral.
That's incredible. I mean, I found that amazing. That was incredible. And a lot of things people don't know about him, I think, is that he's been a really big activist in that movement.
And talk about activists. I mean, in 1969, Jackson and several other students held members of the Morehouse College Board of Trustees, including, this was the crazy part, including Martin Luther King Sr. So Martin Luther King's father, a year after his son was born, Samuel L. Jackson and a couple of the other students held them actual hostage, like actual scene from Negotiator, but this really happened, demanding reform in school curriculum and governments. And then he was charged and convicted of unlawful confinement second-degree offense, and he was suspended from school for 2 years until he got transferred to LA and then finally graduated college for drama. But oh my God, like he actually took people hostage.
That's amazing.
Martin Luther King's father. Like, oh my God.
I did not know that. That's you dove a little deeper than I did. That's amazing.
Yes, this man was very much into, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement before it, you know, before there was one, before it was kind of the hip thing to do. He was one of the kind of founders, and I'm not going to quote per se, but he mentioned that he was starting where if he didn't move to LA, he probably would have wound up dead, because he was really they were starting to mobilize in his kind of group, and they were starting to get weapons and stuff like that. So it's kind of, at least we're very fortunate that he decided to make the move and keep pursuing his acting career. That
sounds like he was getting to the Black Panther realm on that one. That's crazy. I didn't know.
What I mean, what a cool. I mean, you think of if any motherfucker is gonna take someone hostage, right?
I mean, again, Samuel L. Jackson.
So cool. All right, so yeah, like we said, now let's kind of jump into a couple roles. I broke it down into him being a good guy and a bad guy, because like I said, even when he's a bad guy, he still has that kind of like anti-hero about him. He always kind of falls in a very neutral, moral realm.
I agree. He does. I've never seen him be a truly evil villain. I mean, well, maybe in Jackie Brown he wasn't real nice, but I mean, that's probably the most villainy I think I've seen him. Well, yeah. No, Pulp Fiction he was pretty real, but even then he was like this lovable villain.
It's funny that you mentioned Jules Winfield from Pulp Fiction, because I wrote it down in the bad guy column, and then I also wrote it down in the good guy column unknowingly, and I'm just like, oh shit, okay, I see what I did there.
No, it makes sense. It was like a Freudian thing. It makes sense that he's in both. It's a little slip.
For sure. Like Ted from, you know, I put out the tweet today, you know, asking what's everyone's favorite Sam Jackson performance. Of course, Pulp Fiction won. But Ted from Cardsphere actually said, or he actually linked a short clip from Spike Lee's Jungle Fever of him being a crackhead, and it was just so like funny and kind of crazy at the same time. It's Sam Jackson does crackhead great, apparently.
That was what I wanted to watch. Didn't get around to watching. I've never seen it, and it was on the list, and I really wanted to. Did you see that one?
I did not. I just watched the clip that Ted sent me, and I'm like, I think I said it back to him on social media. I'm just like, I could do a 90-minute podcast just on this clip.
I didn't see that. I'll have to check that out.
Oh my God, it's intense. Like I said, you know, it's like, to set the scene, it's like he is breaking into his parents' home, and he's like asking his mother for money. His father's just kind of fed up, so he's gonna go get the gun, just shoot his own son. And the mother's literally trying to grab knickknacks off like the armoire and like the fireplace. She's like, these cost a lot of money. Here, take these and sell them. Just sell them. Just take them and sell them. Your father's going to shoot you. And and then like she hands him $5. He's like, bitch, $5. I don't want $5. Give me your money. It's fantastic.
Oh, I've got to see that.
Wow. So yeah, it's great. So yeah, Menace. So these are a couple like similar roles. Did you see Menace to Society?
I did not.
Okay, so
that's he played with Ice Cube, right?
No.
I see.
This one's like a 93, I think. Menace to Society had just some people, and I think it was the Hughes brothers directed it. He plays Tat Lawson, who's you mostly see him in flashbacks. Sam Jackson's character, he just plays kind of like a total kind of scumbag. He's like a local drug dealer and just like killing people in front of his son. Not the best film. It's a pretty good film, but not the best. But here's another one that we talked about before, and that's True Romance as Big Don.
I love that movie, and I so wish he had more than less than 5 minutes.
Right?
I mean, and it wasn't a big Tarantino film. He wrote it, didn't direct it, so I guess he didn't have as much say. But at least he was in it, and it kind of set the scene for all the future Tarantino movies that he was in. But I love those 3 minutes you see him. I mean, he's great. And do you remember the conversation they're having?
Oh, not off the top of my head now. It felt like we just reviewed this movie.
How R-rated can we be today?
Oh, go ahead.
They're talking about it's all the black guys in the room with Gary Oldman, and they're talking about eating pussy.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, Gary Oldman's kind of a black guy in that film as well.
Basically. And then Samuel Jackson says, "I ate the pussy, I ate the ass, I ate the whole thing." And I hope no kids are watching this. I can't believe I just said that out loud. But yeah, that's his big line. That's like his big line, and that's his one big line in that movie. And then he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny too because like you said, it's a Quentin Tarantino. Who? Yes. Quentin Tarantino. I'm not even drinking alcohol tonight. Quentin Tarantino written role where he was just like, you're having a movie like this and you don't have Sam Jackson. Like, at least put him in for like 5 seconds. This was his like most Benicio del Toro role where you just kind of sprinkle him in. He's kind of like a nice little spice to an already kind of crowded stew, but he definitely elevated the source material.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite roles of his, even though it lasts for, 2 seconds, but no, I wish there was more of him in that one. But yeah, that was, and he was a bad guy in that one, but he still had the best lines. The best lines.
Sure. And very similar character. I think you mentioned Jackie Brown as Ordell Robbie, and Hard Eight as Jimmy. That's a Paul Thomas Anderson film, his actual first full length film. And you could have. The only difference between those two roles was a ponytail, because it's the exact same person. I know you've seen Jackie Brown. Did you get to see? I
saw about half of Hard Eight, and then the place that I watch my movies just kept cutting out, so I only got about halfway through it. But I see what you're saying about it being the same character, only with a ponytail. I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah, he plays sleaze real well. He does like as much as Michael Douglas is 90s sleaze. Sam Jackson plays sleazy, just kind of gross, drug, like small time drug dealer. Because he's never like the dom in anything. He's always like kind of the biggest fish in the smallest pond. And I think that's so true for Ordell Robbie and Jackie Brown and Jimmy in Hard Eight. Jimmy in Hard Eight is even more pathetic in that role because he's literally just like a casino security guard, and he's just like, it's almost like at the back end of him being a scumbag, but he just kind of sees an opportunity he can't pass up with John C. Reilly's character to kind of extort him. And it's just so great because I think he's got just that creepy, disgusting ponytail in Jackie Brown.
Just that ponytail killed me. And I'd seen Jackie Brown years ago, and I didn't remember. I just didn't remember the ponytail. And that ponytail is just it makes him. The ponytail just makes the character in a way. And you're right. He does play the biggest fish in the small pond. Because he's the arms dealer in Jackie Brown. And drug arms, whatever he's dealing. I wish I could have seen all of Hard Eight because I was really enjoying that movie. I'd never heard of it, and I was liking it, but I just couldn't get through it. So it wouldn't let me get through it, but it wasn't meant to be. But Jackie Brown, so when I first saw that movie, I didn't like it years ago, and I rewatched it a couple of days ago, and I realized that I was wrong and that I really do like it. And his role in it is he's great. He's a horrible person. He's a horrible person, but you still kind of like him, even though he's a horrible person.
Well, because he's always disgusting, but he's always has that charm too. Yeah. That where you could buy into someone like a younger Bridget Fonda would kind of gravitate to someone like that because he is powerful, but he's trailer park powerful, where he's just like
slimy, but he's trashy. He's charming, but he's slimy and trashy at the same time.
Yeah, one of my favorite Robert De Niro roles is in Jackie Brown.
I forgot he was even in that movie.
Because he's not Robert De Niro. He's just pissed off.
Yeah, he's pissed off through the whole movie. And you know who he looks like in the movie? In the beginning, I thought of your dad.
I know. I did too.
That looks like John's dad.
Looks like a young Robert Dunning.
A little bit.
Ugh. Yeah, it is very haunting. Another one that I think is a majorly underrated performance for him, and this is kind of the opposite of kind of crazy out there Samuel L. Jackson. This is the game knob turned all the way down, and that's the role of oh god, I can't remember the first name, but the role of Glass from now what is the Shyamalan, comic book universe, what it's kind of become now, with the third film being set to release next year. He's going to be in the titular role of Glass. I think it's Jeremiah Glass. Damn, I can't believe I can't remember. But he debuts the character in Unbroken, and I just think that Unbroken, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated Shyamalan films, and a very underrated film in general. I know, because I feel the same way about Bruce Willis, but he is just such a monotone, just dump in the entire thing, but he's kind of supposed to be, so he kind of works in that role. But to kind of counteract that and play off that, I think Samuel L. Jackson, this is his most restraint role, but he pulls it off wonderfully.
I agree, and I had never even heard of that movie until last night when I watched it, and I was like glued to the screen. I mean, he was so understated. I've never seen. I was thinking this is his most calm role ever. I've never seen him so chill, just so mellow. I mean, he was kind of crazy, but he was a lot of crazy, but he was very, very calm. And you're right. So the opposite of the over the top Pulp Fiction, or the over the top everything else. But it was like, it was mesmerizing. It was like I was glued to him in that role. Bruce Willis, yeah, he's Bruce Willis. And I didn't know it wasn't a Shyamalan film either until the end when I saw his name, and I was kind of impressed by that as well. So they're making a third one. They're making a second. Is it the third one?
It is the third one. And Becky's screaming from the chat, Unbreakable. I don't know what the hell I've been saying.
Unbreakable, Glass. You've been saying Glass.
Well, Glass is the name of the third film, but I think I said I think I called Unbreakable something else for some reason. Yeah, Unbreakable, and then Split is part of that now. That's kind of the second film, and then Glass is going to tie all three films together. So I'm Unbreakable is it's the birth of the Shyamalan twist. That was his first film. He's in the film. Right. If you remember, he's getting patted down by Bruce Willis. It's just such, like you said, it's such a muted film where it's similar to Sixth Sense in a way, but Sixth Sense does have those kind of like louder moments, kind of like some jump scares and stuff like that, where Unbreakable, I think it got a lot of detractors because it is very muted through the whole thing. Everyone is giving muted performances, especially like Robin Wright Penn. Right. She's also like, it's like everyone's on Prozac.
Everyone's like real muted, and I love that moment. And when I kind of realized it before it happened, where he says, I'm your enemy. Everyone has their counterpart, and I'm the opposite of you. I'm the same as you, but the opposite of you. And now I'm your arch nemesis now. And that I love that. That just caught me. It kind of caught me off guard when I figured it out. I was like, oh, I get this now. Took me a second, but I got it. It was great. I liked him muted like that, and he played such a creepy guy.
He did, and it's just like just being able to find him and be someone's supervillain gave him a reason to be alive, because he's just like, my existence just sucks so much ass that I need to become. I just need to fantasize and make myself into something out of the bag of dicks that I got handed. As far as life goes, and it's just such a great ending. I now feel bad because just even telling you that Split is part of that kind of shared universe is a spoiler in itself.
I've never seen. It's not spoiling anything for me, actually, so you're good.
All right. Well, I mean, that's talk about a great film. That is a fantastic film. And go watch the trailer for Glass, because it just looks like how kind of, especially for superhero movies, and these are original characters, especially for how superhero movies could be kind of like big and grandiose. I like how kind of toned down and grounded these films are.
Understated in a way.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Especially Unbreakable, and then once they get to Split's grounded and it's realistic, because like, especially if you know anything about mental health, problems and stuff like that, but it's a little bit, louder and more stuff going on. But then it looks like they're just like, screw it, the cat's out of the bag. Everyone knows that these people have powers, so to speak. Let's just make a superhero film.
And who knew Shyamalan was going to do superhero films? Is there a franchise he doesn't? Well, Batman is the only franchise I think Samuel isn't in on. I mean, he's in on everything else.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Think about it.
Right? Yeah, he is basically in just about everything, and he would put him as stop casting the same person all the time as the Joker. Give Sam Jackson a shot.
There you go. That'd be a new one.
Well, they're gonna make 8 Joker movies by 2025. So
that scares me.
Oh God, it's just poor DC. That's a whole other show. So yeah, and then another one that he just I think his most despicable role is the role of Steven in Django Unchained.
Oh my God, yes. I watched that again. I've seen it a long time ago. Watched it a couple days ago. He is a horrible person. And he has some really great quotes, and I wrote them down, and I forgot where I wrote them.
And we can't say any of them.
No, we can't even say them because they're so, they're just not what we can politically correctly say. But I remember that movie came out and how it got so much heat for being so politically incorrect. But he plays just a bastard.
Yeah.
Just a complete, a traitor to his own race, more or less. And just an evil son of a bitch.
Talk about because in that kind of role, or in that kind of era, I guess, and it's all like Django is so hyper realistic. It's like it's such a comic book movie, although it's not a comic book at all.
Exaggerated, but yeah,
totally. And it's just like those two in himself and Leonardo DiCaprio are just the worst. They're just the worst kind of people on the face of the planet. And it's talk about a small fish in a small pond. It's just like he is kind of rose to a station that he thinks is just the best he's going to get. So like you said, he's a traitor of his own race. He's a traitor of just humanity in general. He just likes to do the dirty work, and he takes this sick kind of pleasure in it. And he is just, he's happy with his station, and he's very protective of it. And he kind of turns out to be the ultimate villain of the whole movie.
Or he's worse than Leo. He takes advantage of a situation and he uses it to hurt so many people. The scene where they have Django's wife in that hot box. He's just loving it. He's got 10 more days in that box. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? He does that role beautifully. But the ending's great. He goes out the way he should. Spoiler alert, of course. Right. He goes out the way he should, and but yeah, you're right. That is his biggest villain role, I think. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, it's just like one of those, and this is the role that he probably broke the world record for saying the N-word in.
Oh, I started counting. I was like making lines with a scratch through it, and I just lost count. I completely lost count. He just threw that word around like it was nothing. Crazy.
So he plays one hell of a bastard. He plays a hell of a villain. Now let's we could shift over to kind of the good guy roles. But again, we're gonna see some roles that aren't kind of stereotypical good guys. It's at least it's very gray roles. And the one that kind of ties it all together. This is kind of why the kids showed up. Let's talk about Jules Winfield from his role in Pulp Fiction.
Jules Winfield. That movie was so great because depending on your opinion of John Travolta, it gave Travolta his career back, and it put Samuel Jackson
for a minute.
for a moment, and it put Samuel Jackson in a whole new a whole new level. I mean, it brought him to a whole new level in his career, I think. That was not that it was his breakout role. I mean, he's had big roles, but that was like huge for him.
That was his iconic role.
Iconic role, definitely his iconic role. And there are so many quotes from that. I mean, there are so many great lines that guy had. And again, I tried counting the times he says motherfucker in that one, and I lost count of that too. But he's like the bad guy. Like in that, I was just watching the scene, that very first scene where he said he quotes the Bible verse for the first time, and he's brutal. I mean, he's brutal, but he's funny at the same time. He's like, "May I have a sip of your drink to wash down that delicious bird?" I mean, he's just the way he does it. It's just classic.
He's brutal, but he's a professional. And if you think about it, the movie's about a lot of things. The movie's a mess, right? Because it has all the jump forwards, flashbacks, all that stuff. But I mean, he's really, as far as a character arc goes, because most of the motherfuckers wind up, face down in the pool of their own blood in that film. He makes it. Again, spoiler alert for a film that came out in 94 or something. Right.
Well, if you haven't seen it by now,
yeah, sorry. What are you doing here? It's just like the overarching story is all about kind of Marcellus Wallace and everything like that, and then. But Jules is real. It's really a morality arc, right? Because he starts out, like you said, as this cold, calculated MF, and then by the end of it, he's just so tired. And whether it be, I don't even remember if he finds out that Vincent Vega winds up murdered or not. I don't even think that matters. He just winds up in a just kind of decompressing by himself in a diner, and then he's just seeing some real amateur bullshit go on, and he's just tired of it.
You don't know why he's tired of it, though. Remember what happens to make him tired of it.
He shoots the guy in the back seat, right?
Well, no. The one scene in the beginning scene where the guy comes out of the bathroom and starts and empties his gun at them, and not
right.
And he finds the Lord of that. He comes to Jesus. That's his come to Jesus moment. That is his come to Jesus moment. That's when he starts to realize that he's meant for something else, that this is not what he wants to do. And he tries to convince Vince Vega, oh, it's a miracle. And Vega's going, miracle my ass. He's going, no, you don't understand. This was God coming down. My life is now changed. And as the movie progresses, even with the time jumps, he's going through that change of being done. That's where we're coming to the end where he's with Tim Roth, giving him the wallet and telling him, chill out, take the wallet and go. And I'm not killing you because I'm not that person
anymore. Yeah, I think he even says, like, if you caught me on a different day, I would have blown your face off, right?
Yeah, but today you got me on a good day.
Oh, Courtney is in the chat. What's up, Court? Hey, it says Taylor Thompson, but it's Courtney.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, it's just that is, if you say Samuel L. Jackson, you think of Jules, right? I mean, that movie is just one of those once in a lifetime kind of movies that have been quoted to death, that have been lampooned to death with the dancing scenes and the Ezekiel passage, and just absolutely every bit of screen time that everyone has is a spectacle, and it's memorable. Just probably has to be the most quoted movie of all time, maybe except for like something stupid like Napoleon Dynamite or something, but
Napoleon Dynamite
or like Anchorman. But as this movie changed everything. This movie changed the game completely. This movie changed how films were made. And just what kind of a break, like it takes a real person to play a role like this, and Samuel and to be in a Quentin Tarantino movie and completely just nail it and kill it. And man, did he do that in Pulp Fiction?
No, he absolutely did. I couldn't think of anyone else who'd have played that role. Can you?
No. No. Jurassic Park, Mr. Arnold. This is again kind of like he kind of got Benicio del Toro in this role. He was very small. He just all I could when I think of him in Jurassic Park, I just see his like a close up on his lips and smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, basically, that's all he basically does. He's the frustrated computer guy trying to get it online, smoking cigarettes like crazy, and that's his role.
That's his role. I still quote this movie or something from him to this day. Every time I have to make a U-turn in my minivan and it's full of children, I always say, "Hold on to your butts." Every single time I have to say it. It's like if I don't, then I'm gonna crash the car or something. But it's just what I do, and I have to thank Samuel L. Jackson for that. The Negotiator. Did you get to see that movie?
I did see. I saw it a while back. It's been a while since I've seen it. If I remember right, he's one of the policemen. He is the negotiator. No, Kevin Spacey's in that with him. I know that. I can't remember exactly who he is in that one. I don't think he's the bad guy.
Well, he is definitely the epitome of the anti-hero in this. Like, just if anyone hasn't seen The Negotiator, it's all about his character's name is Danny Roman. He is kind of a star lieutenant. His partner gets murdered. He gets framed. Basically, he takes a group of people hostage to try to. And you're right. He is a professional negotiator. He talks people down and whatever. And he is trying to clear his name by proving that he was set up and trying to figure out who was the murderer of his partner. It's kind of a mixed bag. He was hard to look at in this film because his hair is like dyed a weird orange color, and it was really like throwing me off.
I don't remember the hair, but yeah, so I did see it, and it's been a while, and it's coming back to me. But the hair, I don't remember the hair. That doesn't sound good at all. That doesn't. No.
Hey, Chatterbox Reviews is here. Hey, how's it going? Just saying hi in the chat.
Say hi.
Hey. You missed our cool Samuel Jackson impressions, but don't worry, I'm sure there'll be more. Yeah, it was it's not, like I said, you don't have to like run out and go rewatch The Negotiator. I thought that he and Spacey play off really well off each other when they are on screen together. It's kind of like a lot of conversations over a telephone.
Right.
But I mean, he's great in the role, and it's a role that he knows well. It's kind of lived in for him. Another one. Let's see. Let's go down. Hey, let's talk about Shaft. You want to talk about Shaft?
I saw the original one like a million years ago, and the one where Isaac Hayes sings the song, and the South Park guy sings the Shaft song, and they use the same song. I thought it was great. But Shaft was, I mean, back when they were making what they call now the black exploitation films, which now are so politically incorrect. And I agree.
They're remaking it with him starring in it next year.
Well, yeah, the second one. Yeah, and he was great in Shaft. It was hilariously, terribly, awfully great all at the same time. But it was fun. It was probably one of the roles I've seen him in where it looked like he was having like a lot of fun being that character. I mean, I don't see how you couldn't. I mean, all the ladies love him, and he just does whatever he wants. Quits the police force. He's a renegade. And the bad guy. You know who played the bad guy? Christian Bale. A young Christian Bale played the bad guy.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
Yeah. And that blew me away too. And he's like this evil, and everything in that movie is racially motivated. There's so much racism. It's all based on race. And Christian Bale plays this racist bastard. And the N-word is used more times than I can count by everybody of every color. But the whole movie is racially run, and it kind of surprised me they even remade that because of that. I'm surprised they're making another one because of that, because I'm sure it's going to be along the same lines.
I think it's perfect timing for something.
I think it's great. I think it's great. But if you get a chance, check it out. Really, it's especially if you're going to see the second one with the new one. It's worth seeing the first one. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was like going back to the 70s. Nice.
Yeah, it's one of the ones I was like that or Snakes on a Plane, and because I never seen Snakes on a Plane except for the other day, and I'm like, there's no way I could talk about Samuel L. Jackson without talking about Snakes on a Plane. And oh boy, this film, I'm just tired of all these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. It's this movie was everything. I don't care. I mean, call me a dope, call me a moron. I had so much fun with this film. All the effects looked like ass. Well, I'll take that back. The practical effects actually looked pretty decent. Like when with like the bite victims and stuff, snakes crawling out of their mouth and shit. Like that actually looked pretty good. I was so surprised at the caliber of the cast in this film. You had the lady, the older lady from the Conjuring films. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was great in. No, not Conjuring, Insidious franchise.
Right.
She's in it. Juliana Margulies, David Kirshner plays one of the pilots. The guy that played the main, like the main guy, like the witness that he was protecting the whole time. I had no idea who that guy was.
No.
He was just awful. Taylor Kitsch is in there. He plays the hot guy having sex with the hot girl in the bathroom, doing the Mile High Club. I think he has like a line, which was just kind of funny. Poor Taylor Kitsch. Like that guy, since Friday Night Lights, just can't get a break. No one takes him seriously as an actor. John Carter really fucked that guy's career. But it's just this. Talk about having fun with a role. And you mentioned he was having fun with Shaft, and I'm sure he was. And I'm sure he also used all of the personal things that you and I talked about before, as far as being a civil rights activist, and him in those roles just feels so natural because it completely is. But him on Snakes on a Plane is just the best time you could ever have.
I fought that movie with every bit of my being. I didn't want to watch that movie because I knew how bad it was going to be. But you guys told me you have to watch the whole thing. I got like halfway through it at one point. I was like, I can't. But then I watched the rest, and I had to take it for what it was, and I stopped looking for a good movie and realized it wasn't meant to be a good movie. Right. It was meant to be exactly what it was. And the most memorable line, aside from the one from Pulp Fiction, is the motherfucking snakes on a motherfucking plane line. I will say the effects of the snakes, the CGI snakes, were horrible.
Just the worst.
The worst I've ever seen.
That's the worst.
The one where one's coming out of someone's eye. I'm going, what is that?
Oh man!
But it was such a fun movie, and it was so stereotypical, like the ending where they get to sort of his phone numbers, and
yeah,
so stereotypical of that kind of movie. Like the hero comes out, and he and the guy he's protecting, we don't know who that guy even is, and I'm leaving my number, and I'm like, oh, here we go. It was so stereotypical, but I ended up really loving it for what it was when I realized I had to take it for what it was, which was a bad movie, but great in its own way. It's
fantastic. And it's like, there's like bad movies, like all the movies that our friends on Bad Movie Night watch, like, Aaron, Chris, and Ian.
Right.
Those are bad movies that are probably like low budget or whatever. This was just, I almost felt stupid for liking this film because I understand they were trying to make it a bad movie, but it's just so much fun. It's just like if you don't enjoy watching Snakes on a Plane, like you have no joy in your life. Just appreciate the bullshit. And it's just like the fact that the solution to get all the snakes out of the cockpit was to shoot out a window on the plane, and like everyone's like almost flying out. Oh my god, there's a baby on the oh my god.
It would have been gone. I mean, that wouldn't even.
Baby would have been gone. It was so good. Oh, it's so good. And I hope he does 2 and 3.
And even the landing part. I mean, you know, in the movie, he's going to end up having. I mean, he's going to end up in the cockpit. It's going to end up with him. It is. So just from him having to try to land the plane to the ending with the phone numbers, and it was, you can even call the shots in that movie.
Sure.
One to the next so easily, and that was part of the fun.
This was a better Jurassic Park sequel than some of the Jurassic Park sequels, because they even made nods to it. They even said, he's just like, yeah, you got to go down the stairs and you got to manually flip the circuit breaker. Right. And Sam Jackson literally he does everything but look at the camera and wink because it was the same fucking thing in Jurassic Park.
Exactly.
So good. There's another and it's basically the same thing. It's like when what's her face, the little girl in Jurassic Park uses her skills as a 1993 computer hacker, because computers were even capable of being hacked back then, to like hack into the system and kind of solve that MacGuffin. Keenan whatever Keenan.
Not Keenan. Keenan. Oh, what was his name?
Saturday Night Live. Yeah, Saturday Night Live. Keenan. Video games save the day. He gets to land the plane because of video games, and it's just like they just checked off all the dumbass boxes, but in the best way.
They did, and you're right. And as I fought it, and you guys said I had to watch it. I'm glad I watched it, and I did love it.
Yeah.
I did love it. And there was a reference. You're right. There was Jurassic Park-ish in those respects, which is kind of funny.
Oh man, it's just brilliant. Let's talk about more of his kind of. Well, okay, no. Before we do that, this was another one like Jules Winfield. His role as Major Marquise Warren in The Hateful Eight. This was one that I had a tough time either putting in a hero role or a bastard role, because he kind of is and winds up being the main protagonist. But I mean, he makes someone's son suck his dick. I mean,
he absolutely does,
and then kills him. This role is just fantastic.
And he you don't know where to, yeah, how do you can't pigeonhole him in that one, because he's you can't. And that whole thing about the fake Lincoln letter.
Yep. So
he got me on the stagecoach, didn't it? I mean, was he bad? Was he good? Yeah, he was both in a sense. And I love that movie. I mean, I absolutely love that movie. The cast is amazing. It ends up being his movie. Him and Kurt Russell, but then Kurt Russell's obviously gone. It ends up being a Samuel L. Jackson movie.
And Jennifer Jason Leigh is just fantastic in this film.
It's funny because Tarantino has a habit of bringing people out of retirement, bringing people out of wherever they ended up and putting them in his movies. And I like that about him, because Travolta and Jennifer Jason Leigh, where was she before this?
Right.
But he has his consistent people, the ones he usually, Tim Roth was there and Samuel Jackson was there. I mean,
James Marsden is in it for a little bit.
People. And what's his name? The guy from Kill Bill too. He's in the dark-haired guy.
What? Not Walton Goggins, is it?
No. He played one of the guys who was helping Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh,
also
Channing Tatum?
No, I can't remember his name.
I love his part in that though.
You know his face if you saw him. But the cast was great. He was great. The ending was fabulous. I mean, yeah, he dies in the end. Spoiler alert. But yeah, his role was he good? Was he bad?
I don't think he does. Isn't he the only one that survives?
Yeah, in the end, remember the guy from from under the basement shoots him in the balls, and like he's liberal. He and what's the guy who plays
Michael Madsen. They're saying Michael Madsen in the chat.
Yes, thank you, Michael Madsen. The guy he was with it in the end, who's been in a million movies and TV shows.
Walton Goggins.
Never remember. Yes, those were the two left alive. And they say, we're both going to die, but not before we hang. Not before we hang her. Basically, they're both going to bleed to death. They're both done.
Yeah, sure.
But no, that was his role was. I was torn. Do I love him? Do I hate him? What do I do with him in this one?
The movie is just fantastic. We talked about this movie when we did the Tarantino one, and it's just, this movie is an updated, although it's set in it's a spaghetti western. It's Clue. This movie is like watching an ultra-violent western version of Clue. Absolutely. And it's so fun. It's almost like it's like watching a Broadway play. It's like a teleplay, and it's a whodunit, but it's just so gratuitously brutal that the violence is almost cartoon shot. Where in most films, except in Django also, this is true for Django, you get you go watch Lethal Weapon and someone shoots someone and you just see someone's shirt puff. Maybe you'll see a little tiny bit. These are fucking cannons. People are shooting at each other. There's body parts just getting blown away in this film, and it's just spectacular.
That one the final shootout scene, that one big shootout scene is like one big mass of blood.
Yes.
That's all you see. Blood and parts.
Blood and parts. Oh, and just seeing Kurt Russell just vomit blood into Jennifer Jason Leigh's face.
I forgot about that. Oh face. I'm like, oh God.
Oh, that's what I think it's, a lot of people liked Hateful Eight, but I think it's one of his best films. Tarantino and Sam Jackson.
If not, it's a top three maybe of Tarantino's and Jackson's best films, I think.
Yeah, he did such a good job with transporting you there. It's almost like it's very reminiscent to The Revenant that way, where it feels very atmospheric. When they're arriving to the cabin and everything, you feel cold. Like it's just they do such a good job, and it's probably the way it was shot with the special technique and the special camera that Tarantino used. But you just feel completely transported. You feel like you're in that room with everyone, and oh man, just
storytelling was done so perfectly.
Yes.
The way they added, I mean, a lot of movies add characters too quickly and in the wrong way. You don't understand where they even came from. Everyone had a story behind them. Everyone had a reason for being there, and you got everyone's story more or less. And that helped add the characters as quickly as they did, especially on the way to where they were going. The guy walking in the snow, and really they added Samuel L. Jackson, and I appreciated the fact that they didn't just make people appear and you're going, who is this person? I mean, there was so much storytelling going on that I loved that.
Absolutely, and only someone like a Tarantino could do something like that, or Aaron Sorkin, something like certain people could make people in a room that riveting for that long. It is not a short film. It is
it's 2.5 hours or something.
It has an intermission. Like in the theater, it had an actual, old style intermission, and it needs it because I mean, although it's riveting and you're chewing up the scenery, it's a long movie of people talking in a room, and it's once you're done, like when the credits roll, you feel like you ran a marathon in that film.
It's exhausting. I watched it all in one sitting. But how many people can pull off a movie that long with just people talking in a room? I mean, there is obviously action, but I mean, it's a rare director, rare actors, rare everything that can pull that off, and it was done perfectly. I mean, yes, perfectly.
And then now we're going to talk about him in his Disney roles, basically, because, he will do roles like Snakes on a Plane all the way to Tarantino films, but he's also very entrenched in these larger franchise roles as well. The first one that we could talk about is his role as Mace Windu in the Star Wars prequels. I'll always talk about Star Wars on the show.
I mean, it is. This is like the Star Wars show, and I saw all the prequels, and I feel the way about them pretty much the way you feel about them. I'm with you on the prequels, and I didn't rewatch the Star Wars movies because I wasn't going to rewatch all the Star Wars prequels.
No,
I kind of watched his roles, on YouTube a little bit, and it was another role where he was understated, where he was very calm and very zen-like, because as a Jedi, that's what they are, calm and understated. But I had to watch the one where what's his face kills him. I had to watch what was the last one?
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, I had to watch that one. There were parts of that one just because I wanted to see. I thought it was just the Emperor that kills them. It's the Emperor, yeah. But it's not. It's him and a young Anakin together that nail him. But yeah, it wasn't. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, he did okay with elderly man George Lucas dialogue. I mean, right. He did the best he could, but I mean,
not like him. It wasn't him. It just wasn't him. I was glad to see him there.
Yeah,
it was good, but it wasn't him.
The character of Mace Windu on paper is very riveting. He's like physically the most powerful Jedi. He's just kind of the tank, so to speak. Like they did those shorts, those animated shorts, and they basically had, the character of Mace Windu was like a silent film, just go in and wipe out an entire droid army single-handedly. And that was the coolest thing about that character. But you could tell where it's like I said, kind of at the beginning of this, at the top of this show, where it's just like, if you're going to use Samuel L. Jackson, you have to let Samuel L. Jackson be Samuel L. Jackson. And in this, you could tell, like, he was probably delivering lines like he tends to do, and George probably is just like, nope, that's too much. You gotta, you can't. You're standing next to Hayden Christensen. You can't show a pulse like where he's just like,
he can't show a pulse.
A Sith Lord, like that. Can you imagine if they actually let him? A motherfucking Sith Lord, How
great would that have been? But no, I know that you couldn't let him do that. And I didn't see it on paper, but it sounds like they took the character and toned it so down so far. They really toned him down, and that's a shame.
Yeah, it's he was, like I said, he's still Samuel L. Jackson, so he was still kind of the best part about it. But I mean, just
but he wasn't that almighty Jedi, like you said, tank Mace Windu from that he should have been.
No, yeah, they George muzzled him, and
yeah, you can't muzzle him. You
can't muzzle him.
No, you shouldn't. Well, you can, but you shouldn't.
Just so bad. What about? Or he's done some voice over roles as well. I thought he was he's kind of like the brunt of a lot of jokes from his role as Frozone in The Incredibles, because
cute.
He was fine, but he just kind of shows up when shit's already like almost solved. Right. And it's just literally like Frozone, and he's just kind of running in, and he's just doing nothing. Yeah.
He's like the useless superhero.
Kind of. He's got some good lines though. It's like, there is no water. He's like, I thought you could use the water or the moisture of the water in the air. There is no moisture in the air. What's wrong with you? You run out of muscle?
And I haven't seen that in a while, but I thought his role was really cute. I like seeing him in voiceover and like Disney stuff like that. I mean, you don't expect him just to say motherfucker, and you don't expect, it's for the kids. So, it's right. It's cute. It's very cute.
He's cool in it. It's just, I thought they gave him quite a bit to do in the second one. I thought the second one was just.
I haven't seen the second one yet.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, not to say that the first one isn't. Just I like that his character got to not just be cleanup duty like he was in the first one.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that one. I haven't seen the second one yet.
Yeah. Other one of the iconic scenes. And it's funny because like he's just such again, like I said, he delivers lines so well, even in an animated thing, where one of the most memorable scenes for me in a movie like Incredibles, where it's just like a spectacle, there's so much stuff going on, is when he's arguing with his wife and he's just like, woman, where's my super suit? And she's just like, he's like, it's for the greater good. I'm the greatest good you're ever gonna have. And it's
close to Samuel Jackson, he got to be in that.
Exactly. Minus the motherfucker, like you said. But yeah, and then his role as Nick Fury, which was controversial at the time, because and I'm so glad, because Nick Fury kind of looks like Kevin Costner in the comic book, and I'm so happy they decided to go this route. And I mean, when I think of Nick Fury now, I don't even see the old style kind of Rambo looking Nick Fury. He is just completely taken over the role.
I never saw the comic book him, which I'm glad I didn't, because I would have been just as appreciative as you are, because anything that looks like Kevin Costner, I don't want anything to do with. So I'm glad they chose him for that role. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know. Oh, I hear kitties.
Yeah.
Hi, kitties. But no, Nick Fury. I never knew there was. I never saw the comics, so I figured he was always, the black guy with one eye. I had no idea it was somebody else. I liked his role in all the Marvels. I thought he was great. I was watching some of his clips last night, and there was one where I forgot he was talking to Iron Man. I think he was talking to Iron Man, maybe. And he's like, "This is eye patch, so I've got my eyes on you." Great little one-liner, but I forgot who was talking to. But no, he was a good Nick Fury, and it's one we don't need to go through every movie because he's the same character in all.
Yeah, sure.
But they chose, I think he was a good choice. And I was looking at the IMDb on that, and he'll be returning, spoiler alert, he'll be returning in 2 more. Even though we all know what happened in the last one. But
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Yeah, whoops. Oh, don't go there. That's oh my God. But we also know, never mind, I wouldn't go into that spoiler alert. But yeah.
Well, I love that he's going to be heavily featured, and I think it's going to be one of his more. He's going to have a lot more screen time as opposed to his other. The other MCU films as Nick Fury in Captain Marvel coming up. That trailer just came out, and you get to see him because I think that's set in the 80s, and so he still has both his eyes, and he doesn't.
It's a back in time throwback one.
Yes, absolutely. It looks like it's gonna be kind of him bringing her through the motions and stuff with a young kind of Shield, and it's something to be said. When I was watching the TV show Agents of Shield, again, Sam Jackson, we talked about 137 movie credit roles. He's been in TV all over the place, and it's not like they were going to get Robert Downey Jr. to go be on ABC's Agents of Shield, but for a couple cameo episodes, he's in there. Like, that's just the kind of, he's just such like a down to earth kind of cool guy that he's this big movie star, and he's going to go be in Agents of Shield. It's great.
Well, I mean, he'd have to be. I mean, Agents of Shield wouldn't be Agents of Shield without some kind of appearance by him. He'd have to be in there somewhere. I didn't see it, but you'd figure he would have to make an appearance there, seeing that he is the head of Shield. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, but when studios have a way of kind of involving characters and stuff without having them actually be like, it could have just been Clark Gregg on the phone with Nick Fury, and I just got off the phone with Fury and such, and it's just cool that he actually took the time to cameo on those things. He's the best through line of the MCU storyline. He's pretty much the star of 80% of the after credit scenes, especially the early ones, and then of course now with the latest one, Infinity War. But he's going to be, like I said, he's going to be heavily prominently featured with both eyes intact in Captain Marvel. So
I know he's also in the next Spider-Man one, I think, too.
That's correct. Yeah, he is going to be in Far From Home. That's going to be interesting. Yeah, he's, like I said, he's changed. I think at this point I don't remember how they did it. I'm kind of fallen out of actually reading a lot of Marvel comics, but I think they figured out a way to where they have both Nick Furies now, where they have like the old school kind of like Rambo looking one, and then now Sam Jackson's iteration of Nick Fury in the comic book. So that's great. Yeah, I mean, he could do that role as long as he wants. I'd be happy.
Absolutely.
The last thing that I want to discuss is narration role, and this kind of goes back to his civil rights chops, and that's I'm Not Your Negro. He was the narrator. He played the role of the narrator, but he was playing a part as James Baldwin. If you don't know what I'm Not Your Negro is about, it's a manuscript letter that historical figure African-American James Baldwin, who was alive around the same times as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and everything. He was kind of a less extremist, but he was still a fantastic speaker. And Sam Jackson is this is a documentary about this manuscript that never got released until now. And it's kind of about that, but Sam Jackson is playing the part of James Baldwin, but just kind of reading things in a documentary setting. Did you like this film?
What happened was supposedly he got 30 pages of this book written, and that was all that was done. And he was going through those 30 pages, and it was great historical. It was a great historical commentary on what was happening in those times, and it talks. I mean, he gets into Martin Luther King, where the guy was when Martin Luther King was taken out, where he was when Malcolm X was shot, and the whole Black rights movement back then, which was such a big deal and so huge and so necessary. And he was great. He narrated. He did a great job in that. I mean, it was a great documentary in general. It brought a lot of things to light that maybe a lot of people don't realize. It had a lot of good footage, interviewing the man who had written the manuscript to begin with. His narrating talents are great. I mean, he was fabulous.
Talk about scaled back too. I mean, it took me a second to realize it was him, and because it does, you could definitely, after a while, you could definitely tell with Samuel L. Jackson, but it's, he's not talking at this level.
No,
Like,
he's speaking in a normal human being voice.
And very quiet. Like, I had to keep turning up the volume on this one because yes, like the other scenes and stuff are loud, but when he's kind of doing the voiceover, it's pretty quiet, and it's not like the filmmaker didn't know what he was doing and he had the mic level too down. It was just
it's very somber. It was very somber.
Yes.
It was not the kind of show where you're going to be upbeat, and it was very somber. It was very serious. It was very intense. It was very emotional. So he portrayed that in his narration very well. And
you could definitely tell that it was a very personal project for him because it's, like I said, he was one of the ushers at Martin Luther King's funeral. So, I mean, he was there, he was living these things with the people he was talking about. So it had to have been a very personal role. I almost felt like there was a couple times where you could tell he was kind of getting choked up. Awesome. I mean, it's streaming free on Amazon Prime. So if anyone out there hasn't seen I Am Not Your Negro, just go watch it because
it's a really good watch. It's definitely worth a watch. I mean, it's especially if you're not in these days. I think a lot of people aren't our age. I mean, well, my age. Well, not more like younger aren't as familiar with that whole time, that whole movement of what was really happening and what so many tragic things happened and how bad the racism really was. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, it was just. I mean, you forget now how bad it was, and that documentary really takes you back there, and explains to you exactly what was happening through a pair of eyes that was there in the middle of it all.
Yeah, and it's very scary because it almost makes you go, oh shit, we're kind of getting to that point again in society, and it's that's the horrible moral of the story is. Not much has changed. Yes, people, it's not so outward. People, but I mean, it kind of is. There's all these, white supremacist marches now. You got just some real bastards out there, and it's kind of scary how, as a country, we've evolved in a lot of things, technologically speaking, but socially, we haven't really moved the needle that much. And that just kind of, when I turned it off, I just felt icky.
Yeah. There was that one scene where one of the Kennedys was saying, maybe in 40 years we'll have a black president. And it's funny because in 40 years we did have a black president. And when it's funny because, and I don't want to get all political here, but I'm going to maybe a little bit. It didn't start going like they didn't start getting that nasty again until the new administration moved in with his interesting cabinet and interesting people who he has connected to him. That were white supremacists, and we won't go there. I didn't just say that. So
no, but I mean, seriously, it's just like we got to the progressive mountain where things were actually changing, and then look what happened. It's
because Trump got elected president. There, I said it.
Oh, well, that said, unfortunately, we got to end on a sour note.
No, that's terrible. Terrible.
Oh, geez. But yeah, I mean, this was, I was very much secret. I mean, I would have loved to talk about John Cusack too, but this was definitely the one that I think is, there's so much richness to this man. In 137 movies, we touched on some of the greatest hits.
We only touched 10 of them maybe, and there are so many more. I mean, I watched a couple that you didn't, but I mean, there was one called Black Snake Moan, which was really good. I thought with him and Christina Ricci, where he plays an old blues guy, and she's like the town slut, and he kind of cures her of her evil ways. But the way it's done is really, really good. And the character he plays is this down home Southern old blues singer whose wife just left him for a younger guy, and he's puts the fear of God in that girl, and it's good. It's good. That was
There's that like. When he won, I was just like, "Oh shit!" I got some stuff to do, but I mean, it's impossible. And everyone has probably seen at least 40 of his films because he's just in everything, and that's not a bad thing at all. There's a reason why this man keeps getting cast in roles. One of the most iconic actors today. Like probably thinking about the people that we've talked about on this show, besides like, you know, Jim Carrey, he's really probably the biggest movie star. And I mean, this man's never going to win an Oscar because, like I said, he's good at what he's good at. But, you know, it just doesn't translate to maybe, awards and stuff like that, even though he's pulled in like $20 billion as far as his whole filmography is gone.
No, I agree. And it's too bad he doesn't do the roles that he's in aren't Oscar roles. His acting is Oscar worthy acting, no doubt. I mean, no doubt. But no, you're right about that. That's too bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is our real actors for this week. Deb, where can everyone find you?
I'm not too many places right now. You can find me here doing real actors on YouTube. I'm on Twitter at the Walking Deb 66. And I'm working on possibly doing another Walker Bites. We'll think about that one. Working on that one. But
people are still watching that show.
Hey, I know, right? That's why I'm having so many issues with that whole franchise. But that's a whole other show. That's a whole
other YouTube channel. Yes, please go jump on to Chemical Clothing. That's chemical-clothing.com. Go check it out if you like skate clothes, surf clothes of that nature. Go check out this website because, you know, you get 15% off if you enter promo code Real Actors. That's REEL Actors, spelled out like actors. All one word, all in caps. That's important. That's something I didn't mention before. But go check out my buddy Andrew Sines, his clothing company, because that is awesome stuff. Get 15% off on cool clothes. That's amazing stuff. So yeah, you can find me, Jon Dunning, right here on this very channel, talking about movies, talking about magic all the time. You could also find me on Twitter at OrsOfDone. Also the same thing on Reddit. I think it's r/OrsOfDone. I hate Reddit, but I love it. It's like a love-hate thing.
I love Reddit.
Oh man, we did a whole part of our Magic the Gathering show last night was dedicated to talking about how much of a sloth Reddit is.
It's a love-hate relationship kind of thing.
It totally is, but it's a necessary evil, especially if you're in this kind of content creation space. You kind of have to do it. You can also find me Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. But till next time, for The Walking Deb, Becki in the chat, I'm Jon. We'll see you at the movies.
Bye.